Oh my gosh. This is so fucking amazing. You know, learning how to convert stories and allegory and words and numbers and physics and chemistry and biology and astrophysics and oh my gosh. When the brain works that quickly because I faced the pain, released the demons, stayed home and stayed safe, got away from society, fed myself, and paid attention to the Netflix movies and even the shows and saw through the programming and saw what they were trying to tell you, the message. Oh God, what is the message? Like right now I'm watching Shonda, whatever. Shonda Media, Bridgerton, like Grey's Anatomy, Bridgerton. And they're trying to redirect society from an aggressively baser level type of existence where women finally get the opportunity to develop herself without having to go back to the traditional ways of worshiping the man and living in a patriarchal society. So I know the system is doing very good things, but they have to play both sides of the fence. But I look at the good that they do, like with some of these movies that do represent both sides and also give you the choice, but what kind of choices are you making? Well, why I have faith in the system is because I see the messages in some of these movies. And even though some of the movies have some really aggressive violence and sexuality, there's also the verbiage. They're trying to tell you something. That women are allowed to make choices independent of the men. That women are allowed to come up in society. That she doesn't have to be used as a broad mare. And that men also have the choice that they don't have to be the one to make all the decisions and be responsible for how the world goes. That it's both equally men and women's responsibility to survive and keep society going. And so we don't want to have those dualities of black and white checkerboard, which is basically Satanism, luciferianism, cause all-out destruction. Okay? But we know that the system is trying to scale down the population without turning to what we have done in the past, which is genocide, humans that we don't think are not appropriate. Now, I know people think areas in the country of the world are being genocided, but I think we've all been given opportunity to evolve. I think we've all been given opportunity to evolve and change. And some who see the writing on the wall, some of them escape countries and escape families and escape friends who are destructive, and they find ways to do things that are necessary for their survival. And so they get asylum, whether it's by themselves or they get asylum in another country that gives them opportunity, or they get asylum somewhere else. And that's great. When you have the power to escape a deadly situation, evolving and advanced societies want someone that can escape and want better for themselves. Anyone that can escape Gaza and go somewhere and say, okay, I want asylum because I would be killed if I went back to where I was. And they found a way. They found a way out. They strategized their way out of a war-torn nation. They strategized their way out of death and destruction. You want someone like that in your society. You want someone who's a survivor. You don't want people who are just like, I'll just lay over and roll over and let everybody walk all over me. No, those are weak people that would also be very predatory. And so you want fucking survivors that can leave things that are deadly, and they know they're deadly. And so we all have been given certain kind of wars in our world. Some are more extreme, like Gaza. Others are extreme, like Russia and Ukraine. And others are extreme, like, in the first world, we have immunological wars. We have religious wars. We have ideological wars. We have activism wars. And who's going to escape those wars? Who are going to leave the fucking war and save themselves? Well, not many. Even in the J world, even in my world of Jilly Juice, probably maybe a few people, I would say 3 or 4, if that, have figured out how to leave the fucking war and not buy into either going so dark or going so light. I can still appreciate people who stay on one side or the other. But when you think about it, when I do what I do early in the morning to whatever, and then I just do what I do during the day, I watch whatever I watch, I type whatever I type, I rest, I relax, I eat. You know, I put my information out there. I have no expectation anyone fucking gets it. Some will, some won't. But I have no expectation. I just put information out there. I don't ram my information down anyone's throat. I don't talk smack about anyone, really. I just represent what is going on, and at least give you guys something to work with, and try to give you examples, because then you're like, oh, where's the proof, Jillian? Where's the proof? Where's the proof? Everyone wants to know what proof I'm talking about. Well, with this whole thing with Anton LaVey and Aleister Crowley, and you hear about them in the conspiracy world, because then we have people accusing religions and politics and science stuff to be luciferian or to be satanic. And I'm just so done with those accusing those of being satanic. And you see a lot of that in the religious world. They're like calling other people satanic. They're calling this religion satanic, that religion satanic, this religion luciferian, that religion luciferian. And they both are very fucking deadly when you stay on one side or the other. And so when I was studying yesterday, Aleister Crowley stuff, and I'm glad I didn't go any further than where I went. It was already pretty steamy and steamy. That's not even the right word. It was already pretty grim of where it was going. Oh yeah, he's depraved, all right. Aleister Crowley was depraved like you would not believe. And yeah, Anton LaVey. So I figured out, when I was trying to figure out, when I was reading like Aleister Crowley's another perspective, and that was I think the law of reversal. And I hear people like in the Hebrews and in the Christian whatever saying that, oh God, you know, inversion and all that, and they're that they're saying that this is satanic, that is satanic, and or pagan or whatever, and they're saying you shouldn't be like so self-possessed because that's satanic, and I'm thinking like, oh God, okay. So you saw where I was transitioning, where I was questioning, even like, okay, is it really satanic that someone is self-aware? But how self-aware are you? To the point where you become self-possessed and everything about self, and you don't really think about others. And I don't want anyone ever to think that I was practicing something satanic, because self-awareness has been categorized as that. And I'm like, okay, how far do you take it? You don't want to be so in the dark about yourself that you're satanic, and so in the light that you're Luciferian. So hold on, let me just figure this out. And then I figured out, okay, what if, yes, Luciferianism is being so much in the light, and sexuality and drugs that cause then speed them up type of situations, so much light. So you see those that are stuck on the energy drinks and all the supplements, and cause them to speed up their activity, just like the ionic environment. And you really, I mean, with J juice, it activates your immune system, but then you also can get to a point of being cured. Equilibrium equals death. So then I'm like, okay, so there's the Luciferians, all about the light and the knowledge and the activism and the resistance and all that shit. And then you have the Satanists who then want to disable their immune system. Disable their immune system. What do you mean? By blocking the energy. By stopping the energy, stopping the life, carving out the life in their body. Cutters. So you have the cutters who are Satanists that do, what is it? You know, they have the knife and they plunge it into the heart. What the fuck do you think a scalpel does? What do you think the injections do? You're plunging into the heart of your cells. What do you think the monuments are? Plunging into the atmosphere. That's what all these, the World Trade Center was like that. The different skyscrapers is about plunging themselves into something and injecting information. That's satanic when you think about it. What's wrong with walking into a room and breathing in all the drugs, which is basically people's ectoplasm, all their spittle, and then taking on the information, feeling the pain and suffering, releasing demons, focus on something intellectual that would help you, not so much just to learn shit just for the hell of it, but learn shit to keep you alive. Because the other things that I learned was to promote where I was going, well, to support my arguments, but it wasn't like I was just learning shit just for the hell of it. Because it does, when you do learn formulas and you learn how to think in a logical way or in certain logics, like minutia, which could be like going down to the most common denominator, it trains your brain to take things down to the most reduced level. And then you bring it back and you build back up. So you learn stuff based upon your survival. Okay? So, yeah. So it's not just for the hell of it. You do things for your survival. You learn stuff for your survival. So anyways, so looking at both Luciferianism, looking at Satanism, they're both dark and light. And even if you try to balance both, what does that mean? How do you balance death? Balancing death is death. That's the deception. That's the crazy thing about what's going on is that that's the choices that you're given. Just like with the Democrat, Republican, you know, and all that. I mean, oh my God, this is because too much cold, you die. Too much heat, you die. And so when you're stuck in those contexts of trying to balance hot and cold and knowledge and ignorance and all of that, the dualities, then you get stuck in those contexts. Then you got to bring in almost everything. You have to actually learn everything. You got to learn everything. You can't just learn one side of the world and that's it. You really have to not be so compartmentalized. And how many people have the ability to learn outside of whatever they've been compartmentalized in? You know, your industry, your religion, your occupation keeps you so fucking compartmentalized. That's where people's blind spots are. That's the Satanism. Satanism is where you blind yourself to a lot of information. You stay in the dark. But see, I learn information based upon what I need to learn to survive, and then I go into the darkness of my room. And we had somebody over for a minute. I had somebody over for a minute to do pest control. And there's really hardly any ants, but I did see a few, but not too many. But I know every spring a lot of ants do come out. But I mean, I saw a few carpenter ants, but not so many. But I still brought someone over here. And he comes upstairs, he's like, and I'm like, yeah, it's a little dark up here. And he's like, yeah, did you see the northern lights? I'm like, yeah, that's a lot of solar radiation. That's why I blacked out my upstairs. My husband can be downstairs and have all the light, but he actually does close the windows or close the curtains now. Because I'm showing you proof. Solar radiation is the ultraviolet. That's G5, G6, G7, whatever. 5G, 6G, 7G. And then when you're only getting a choice between death and death, death is the only answer. Luciferianism, which is great. You have enough information. You have the knowledge. Okay, but I don't chase it to such an extreme. Like I said, I don't go to the overboard and just learn shit for the hell of it. I don't go and learn complicated formulas if I don't have to. There has to be a reason why I would learn something so complicated like some of these formulas out there that are in physics. I only learn things based upon what will keep me alive. And that's it. I don't bring in superfluous knowledge just for the hell of it. And that's the thing about knowledge. Luciferianism, when you're taking in superfluous knowledge so you can act like you're all prideful that you learned something, are you going to fucking survive it? Just because you know that the system is doing things intentionally. Are you going to survive your knowledge? What's the point of knowing shit? That's Luciferianism. The activist world is Luciferianism. The anti-chemtrails, the anti-V, the pro-V, all the different activists. The rise of Luciferianism was right after 9/11. That's the rise of Luciferianism. When you go down those rabbit holes and you don't come up for air, but you think that going down the rabbit holes, you're going down the darkness. No, you're bringing in knowledge, but is that knowledge going to destroy you? That's what I'm trying to that's what I'm trying to get that point across to the people in the J world. That probably only 3 of you only fucking get it. That's it. 3 of you probably only get it. I probably count on my hand. And I'll say 3 that I think. And I could be wrong. Maybe you do get it, but you just don't say anything. But I'll say Tanya probably gets it. Audrey probably gets it. And who's the third person? Penny. Penny probably gets it. That's it. That's it as far as I can see. That's it. And that's only ones that I know because of my interaction. That's pretty fucking sad. Out of how many people I've ran through the last 7 years, that I could probably count on my hand how many people probably get where I'm coming from. Will you survive your knowledge? Will you survive your ignorance? That's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. I'm gonna write this down. Shit. God damn it. I hate when this happens. I'm so fat. I get so, excited. What it comes down to is, will you survive your ignorance or knowledge? That is the black and white checkerboard. And if you're staying in those two worlds, you're so full of knowledge or you're so fucking ignorant and you're in pride and you pride yourself of being ignorant because you won't bring in any new information, then it's not gonna fucking matter what you know or don't know because you're not gonna fucking survive it. That's the black and white check. That's religion. That's politics. That's even the sciences. So, yeah, that's a little eye-opening. That was like, holy shit. Then I realized most people can't change. Most cannot fucking change. They won't change. They have no fucking ability to. They're stuck. And you can't help them. You feel sorry for them, but you can't help them. But then you have to leave society. Because if you join in with whatever's going on, you'll be an accessory to their own death and destruction. And so you have to walk away. What else are you going to fucking do? Join in and be part of that and be an accessory to it, knowing once you know, you can't unknow the stuff. Once you know, you can't, and then people know that you know about whatever, and then they can mock you and say whatever, and you don't know how unpredictable people are when they've been found out. They didn't even know that they were people found them out. But when you call things for what they are, people don't like that shit. Because of all the different survival mechanisms people have, keeping everything around them and keeping everything, I don't know. So I'm gonna go down here and just read this because it's pretty crazy. And so, allegorical equilibrium is also death. So equilibrium is being cured. We thought that equilibrium was that, oh, you're balanced. No, there's always going to be entropy. And you're always going to try to catch up. You're always trying to catch up. You're never going to be, if you're ahead, then you're going to be in a deficit, but then you have to pull back. So you have to know when to catch up and when to pull back. That's the fucking dance. And you have to understand how everything works. You have to understand all the factors that are in play. Particle acceleration, climate, your lifestyle, your belief system, friends and family, your the food, the deficiencies. I mean, there are countless factors that you have to take into account to understand how to get ahead and pull back. Okay, well, not get ahead, but catch up and pull back. I gotta write that down. Fuck. Catch up and pull back. That is the dance. That is the dance. That's the dance. And you have to know how shit works. And if you don't, then you'll be playing in all that shit that's called Luciferian or Satanism. God. That's some crazy. Yeah, that's some crazy. Oh my God. And so that's why you saw the black and white checkerboard in all the different movies. And yes, in Freemasonry. That was a representation of Luciferianism and Satanism. The black represented Satanism and the white represented Luciferian, and both of those dualities actually are destructive as people go to each end of the extremes. Or they balance death with death. They're out there taking their pot and they're posting knowledge. That's the black and white checkerboard. That's Freemasonry. When you're still balancing death with death, and it equals death. No matter which side you went, you would always be practicing death and destruction, and that's why you have to walk away from both. if it's even possible for you. Only know what you need to know to survive the situation at the current time. Anything more than that, superfluous, well, it's not going to make a difference. Why would you waste your time learning shit that's not going to make a difference? Just like saying, oh, I never had to use algebra, someone said. Well, I've been using algebra to explain PEMDAS, to explain solving for X. What is the X? The X, it's the ULF. It's the invisible hand. Ultra low frequency, ultraviolet rays. That's the hidden hand. That's fucking algebra. But if you don't want to learn the world from that point of view, then yeah, you'll be out there going, I never had to learn algebra. Well, yeah, because you never knew how to use it in certain situations. So you only use things that what will be based upon your survivability at the time and your capacity to understand how to implement all the different things out there. That's why the system gives us access to it now. Before, you had to qualify for it, but now you're getting access to it all. And so if you want to save yourself, you must walk away from society who worships luciferianism and Satanism and call it whatever religion they have, activism, whatever. They both represent death and destruction through the dark and the light. I knew no matter where people went, they would always be practicing something that was deadly. Because people can't change. And let me tell you, I thought they could. But I thought they could. But I think most people have zero ability to change anything they're doing. It's fucking scary. I'm sorry, I thought many of you could change, but I guess I was wrong. Okay, good luck in surviving this bullshit. I'm just glad I have the proof now. Yeah, I have the proof now. It's an allegory. But I knew allegory and physics and religion and science and all that stuff all work together is how you converted the words, the formulas, the letters, the numbers, alphanumeric. Because even when you write something and you say but, then you negate something when you say but. I love you, but. You can do this, but. However, is like, well, let's take something away or let's add something to something. That's plus minus. However, so when you even convert some of the words into symbols of math, then you see what's going on. And then when you look at the colors, they can mean whatever the hell you want it to mean. But when you look at it even deeper, because remember, we all were tossing around what Luciferian was a couple years ago. And so we were like, oh, we're Luciferian. There's no fucking life in Luciferian. For a minute there is, but you don't want to be Luciferian either. And you don't want to be satanic either. Oh, then what do you want? What are you? Yeah, I guess it's living in the gray areas, right? When you're living in the gray areas, the gray matter. What's gray matter? That's your brain. Hold on a second. What's gray matter? Oh, I gotta pee now. God dang it. It's brain matter. It's a major component of the central nervous system consisting of neuronal cell bodies, neuropil dendrites, and unmyelinated axons, glial cells, astrocytes, and oligodendrocytes, synapses, and capillaries. Gray matter is distinguished from the white matter in that it contains numerous cell bodies and relatively few myelinated axons, while white matter. Okay, so then you're seeing why they call it gray matter, because it's a combination of both the dark and the light. That's some fucking crazy shit, man. That is crazy. Oh my God. See, I knew there was proof. I just had to find the proof. And the proof is in the past. It's in the present. It's in the future. The proof. Oh my God. When black and white death is mixed together, you get gray matter. You cannot be in one or the other. The brain lives in the gray areas. That is fucking crazy. That is fucking crazy. Wow. The brain lives in the gray areas. I gotta pee. Hold on. Oh my God. Okay, so there is the color proof, okay? So I'm glad I have the proof now. Oops. You can choose your own adventure, okay? I knew there was an answer to all of this paradox. The dualities deceive you into thinking you must be one side or the other, or balancing both. That when you balance death with death, you get death. That was the deception, okay? You never really had a choice, no different than politics and religions. They just give you what you thought they represented. And even in the activists, oh yeah, I do my holistic remedies instead of the VACCINESs. That's not a fucking choice. Well, I mean, it is to some people. The illusion of choice strikes again. The only real choice you have is to walk away from almost everything you thought you knew and deal with the pain and suffering. If that's not the choice for you, then what the fuck are you fighting for, and what the hell are you resisting? You already chose. You're just fighting your way of leaving this earth. You think your way of leaving this earth is better than somebody else's. Okay. Most of the people in the Jellyjuice world don't even get this. So if you do get where I'm coming from, even though you don't say too much, but if you do get where I'm coming from, you're very rare. Very fucking rare in this. Most of you are too far gone. And you know I tried my best. And you know I suffered through ridicule. I suffered through hatred. I suffered through threats. I suffered a lot to understand this. But suffering comes innovation. Suffering is what makes the person. That's what makes the fucking genius. That's what suffering does. And if you don't believe in suffering, then yeah, you'll take yourself out. People are and they will, and that's fine. That's their choice. So you know I tried my best, but I finally brought it down to physics and allegory and science. Even the allegory was equilibrium. Equilibrium is death. That's flatline. That's 0 Kelvin. That's okay. That's 666. That's Anton LaVey. Aleister Crowley's like, here, I'm going to have sex and drugs and rock and roll. That's Aleister Crowley. Now, back in 1875 was when he was born. He died in 1947 at 72. So 72, 7 plus 2 equals 9. 1947, okay, so that's 9/11, 11 or 3 when you add it all together, but you do all that math. As far as 1947, his birthday's October 12th. Then you get Anton LaVey, then you get Zena LaVey that looks like Taylor Swift. Yeah, now you see kind of how shit works. But again, remember there's two sides of the story. And so, once you think you've made it, there's a lot more to be done and the system changes. You'll never make it in a society that is evolutionary, and so learn how to change. And I don't mean following the latest religions and trends that you see out there in Hollywood or wherever, because that is the source of misery. When you can't achieve what you think is making it, you might make it for a second, but then that's short-lived, just like with a cure. You got an operation, another operation, another operation, another cure, another upping of your medication, another herb, another extract. The cures don't fucking last. Another supplement. They don't fucking last. And so no matter what, when you think you've made it, you haven't. That's why you have to keep evolving. I mean, you think when I'm feeling okay like I am today, I think I've made it? Yeah, for a minute. That's the paradise, when you've made it for a second. I finally got to this point where I have this awareness and another awareness, another revelation, right? But then tomorrow the system can change again. And then I'll have to be painted. I mean, I've been releasing demons. Yesterday I was releasing demons. What does that mean? Oh my God, I'd be pulling out Tootsie Rolls in the afternoon. And it was crazy. Finally this morning I actually pooped like regular. And it wasn't bad. But the last couple weeks, it's been releasing some crazy fucked up shit. Literally crazy. And sometimes I even had to really just blow my nose to leverage all that out. So that way it wouldn't plague me and turn into some kind of disease, some fast-moving cancer. That's kind of the situation I'm in right now, is that, yes, I will get a revelation. I will get a relative equilibrium where I can be kind of ahead of the game. But then when the system changes again, I have to pull back and eat food and release and rest. And so it's always like, 10 steps forward, 2 steps back, whatever, 50 steps back, forward. It's that dance. We're in that dance right now. And so you either catch up or you slow down. If you have to know where you are in this scheme of what's going on. And that includes taking into account everything that's going on. Everything. And so I wrote this morning: drug, sex addict, Aleister Crowley, Anton LaVey, occult law of reversal, Luciferian, Satanism, G5, G6, UV, fractions, and families. Yeah, families are fractionalized potential. And then they're in deficit. And you can figure out how many times your genetic line has reproduced. I mean, you just look at the Angelina Jolie and her family. They showed you the succession of Marceline, her mom, and then there's Angelina Jolie, and then there's Shiloh. Shiloh is pretty, but not as pretty as her mom, and her mom is not as pretty as her mom. But Angelina was like the middle part of it, and she's gorgeous. Marceline, she's gorgeous too. And then Shiloh, okay, she's gorgeous, but I would say that if you want to look at aesthetics and all of that, I'll say Angelina Jolie, the middle. That middle was where you want to be. But as soon as you keep reproducing on genetic lines, you dilute. You dilute the intensity, you dilute a lot of stuff. But is such beauty like Angelina Jolie, is that balanced or is that deadly? Well, it just depends on what's going on in her genetics and what she was bred with as far as culture and lifestyle and all that. So, even Hollywood does their experiments. And so I would say Aleister Crowley is Luciferian and Anton LaVey is satanic. Well, obviously Anton LaVey says he's satanic. I don't really see them say that Aleister Crowley was Luciferian, but you could see now with how many, when I read the history of Aleister Crowley, I get Anton and Aleister kind of confused. I used to think they were kind of the same, but no, Aleister was actually Luciferian. He was about so much sexuality and so much drugs. Now, Anton LaVey probably is about drugs, but he was more of the occult, they're both occultic. But Anton calls himself satanic, and he's out in San Francisco. And there's so much of the sex revolution, the drug revolution, all that. So I would say Aleister Crowley is Luciferian and Anton LaVey is satanic. Right now, everyone is practicing one or both of these religions, covered up in whatever spirituality they claim they practice. That's why I walked away from society, because both of them end up in destructive death and violence, even sexual violence. And then they say, I'm the monster. People project their bullshit onto me, so I just walked away from society. I'm literally done with the old world, and it sucks watching it burn. No matter how good the intentions were and are of all religions and spiritual beliefs, anytime one chooses to separate the world between what is right and what is wrong, then we teeter on Messiah God complexes who also feel we must execute people in body, mind, and spirit. That was the cancel culture. Oh God, you say salt is good, and we told her salt is bad, so Jillian is the devil. Oh, Jillian doesn't treat her animal, and so her animal is suffering and all this other shit, but the animal suffered already being under the knife, of being spayed or neutered, or having her tumors be, stabbed into a long time ago, and then I didn't realize that would come back again down the road when the climate changed, and I wasn't going to keep treating my animal to death, and so I had to learn a very hard lesson. But when our society has practiced cutting into animals and humans and calling it healing and justifying owning a person, place, or thing. Slavery, modern day slavery. And then you have the gall to project what you have done to animals, what you've done to humans, what you've done to yourself, what was done to you to somebody else. Then it's time to look in your own fucking backyard to see what kind of misery you've contributed to this world. And start taking everything back to your world before you start going and accusing others of being a monster. Because I will tell you, 99.99% of society out there are monsters. Just because you put them under who, just because you put your animals and your children under anesthesia and under the influence so you can cut into them to do whatever you want to do, doesn't make you any better than someone who doesn't put their animals under and just cuts into them. I wasn't cutting into anyone. I was just trying to get my dog to figure some shit out and feed her. But again, she was too far gone because of stupid operations in the vet system. And so I won't own an animal again. I will not enslave anything again. I will not condone that, but you do what you do. That's your prerogative. But there is another way. There is another world. So granted, life must be regulated or else suffer all out extinction. And there is such thing as right and wrong based upon a civilized society with an underbelly. But who makes those decisions? And that's the thing. The system watched the cancel culture make decisions on what is right and what is wrong based upon politics, religion, science, and the constructs. But I will give you the answer. You are given a choice based upon what you choose to believe, and ultimately your government governs what is appropriate for the needs of society at the time, and systems change, and we're in a changing system right now. Life is precious, okay? But what kind of life do we want to cultivate in a diverse society, and why are we cultivating that life? If you were to take everything down to its most simplest denominator, even when it comes to information, would you want to be governed by ignorant, intolerant, despotic, violent, sexually depraved, drug-ridden, and inarticulate leaders who kick down the doors and destroy anyone who looks and acts a certain way? Would you want that? Would you want to go back to 1945? Would you want to go to Iraq and what we've done over there? Would you want to go back to situations where you were in fear that because you looked a certain way, someone was going to genocide you? Would you really want to live in that kind of fucking world? Hell no. You want leaders who get changed out every so often, who try to keep the balance, who also need to regulate humans and must be both the good guy and the bad guy. And how do people reconcile with that? If you are ignorant of all arguments and choose to be ignorant of the other argument and eschew information based in science, eschew means deny, reject, based in science and physics, you will believe all the stories about what life should be and how one should die, and that is fine. You chose to believe that, and so the system will grant your every wish, but you can't be the one to destroy someone else against their will. If you're choosing to cultivate your brain with more information as well as entertain the other arguments and self-reflect what misery you have contributed to the world, then you'll choose whatever is appropriate for you. Okay? So people can be self-reflective of what they misery, but they may not even survive. I can't even guarantee those that understand my information will survive. I hope they do. But there is no way I can know what Audrey knows and doesn't know. And she does the best she can, and that's fine. And Tanya, and also Pip, the other person was Penny, I'm sorry. But I don't know. There's no way for me to guarantee anyone's survival. Okay, knowledge is one half. The other half is behavioral. And can you survive the climate change? I don't know what they do and don't do. I'm not there. You only know what people tell you. And I'm not saying you should tell me everything, because even then it doesn't even matter. Just survive it. Everyone's going to have their way of surviving. And there's a lot of factors that come into play. Okay? And so, you are the angels who choose to be devilish in your pursuits. And with your lack of balance, the system will keep you addicted to your devilish pursuits until you decide something different. If you choose starvation, drugs, big families, alcohol, lots of destructive sex, violence, lack of change, and chasing beauty, pleasure, and paradise, the system will overwhelm you with whatever you want until you destroy yourself. So you see how many animals, how many cute dogs are out there? People are buying them up left and right, adopting them, rescuing them from whatever. The system will give you whatever the fuck you want, and you will go down with the ship. You know, it'll be fun to have the animal for a while until the climate changes. The death angel passes over, and oh gosh, my dog died all of a sudden. My dog has a issue, and even the person, right? Then all the activists who think the system is killing them would have actually chosen to destroy themselves, called self-harm, addicted to healing and pleasure, and do themselves in, surrounded by friends and family. If you want to know who the devils are, they are the ones who choose to be the devil to themselves, and then they project looking for the devil, always bringing the devil into whatever game they play. Once you know this, then you start cutting down a lot of public exposure as people hunt for the devils, and some people get triggered by who they think are the devil. And if you are caught alone in public, gosh, help you. Okay? Anton LaVey and Aleister Crowley are the most baser levels of the human condition that was and there was, and many people do worship aspects of them and their teachings because there is magic in the occult. But there's also self-harm to heal, and then all-out destruction, and there's fucking money in it. The UV rays, even at night, just bring up what you already hold within, and so if you want to manage the devil within so it does not outright destroy you, find ways to control the release and retention comfortable for you and survive the devil in the purple dress. And that's the ultraviolet. That's the purple dress. Okay? And it's beautiful. See, when you see these beautiful girls, they're all hot and sexual, and they're also mean as fucking acid, and they will cut you down if possible, but they're beautiful. That's the devil in the purple dress. It's the beautiful girls that are fucking wicked, and they know it, and they can hypnotize people. Those are the queen bees and the king bees and the cliques. They're devils in the blue dress. They'll hypnotize you with whatever you think you need, pleasure and paradise and company. But as soon as you go against the grain or say anything different or be different, then the fangs come out. And so I'm neither Luciferian or Satanic. I left society. You guys can dookie it out. Dookie it out. I can sit in the light of knowledge and in the darkness away from the excessive solar radiation. And I feed the energy and sleep to repair. I do not chase ignorance or light. No pride in ignorance or knowledge. Survive what you need to know. Okay? Pride is one of the 7 deadly sins. Once you achieve, the system will change again. I must be connected to that. Oh, I see. Okay. Like, Audrey, what are you doing? Oh, you're... She's on her own page. I hear this ding, ding. You're so funny. All right. And so pride is feelings of deep pleasure or satisfaction derived from one's own achievements, the achievement of those with whom one is closely associated, or from qualities of possession that are widely admired. The team was bursting with pride after recording a sensational victory. Pride in your boat, pride in your hair, pride in your clothes, pride in your law degree or degree. Okay, but again, that's fine. But again, when the system changes, and that's okay, and you're stuck in that pride of whatever, and the system changes, your law degree, your boat, your hair, your skin, your nails, all the things that you had took pride in will actually be your undoing. So be very careful being prideful of something that was successful in one world, because in the next world, it may not mean a damn fucking thing. And it will be the thing that will kill you. Okay? And so Satanists practice dark magic by disabling, blocking their immune system or the light of energy and life, thus descending themselves into the darkness of ignorance, pleasure, and paradise. Luciferianism, or Luciferians, burn themselves up in the light of knowledge and awareness until they supernova into a ball of light and activism, also known as rapture, like a volcano. Both are deadly to self. 2 very extremes of energy management. Both are highly sexualized as well because they have big families. They're out there on Instagram, OnlyFans, whatever, showing you everything under the sun. I mean, shit. These are where people are trapped in. They're trapped in this satanic Luciferian lifestyle. But they wouldn't call it that. They'll call it energy healing. They'll call it tantric sex. They'll call it, drug therapy. They'll call it whatever the fuck the system will give you the allowance to call whatever the practice of deadly, practices are. So you'll be okay with doing yourself in at your own hand, supported by your friends and family. Okay, so the occult law reversal. Now here's this thing, it's so crazy. Preachers preach for against. Okay, here, I'm going to read this. I have to read this. All right. The occult law reversal. Edward Alexander Aleister Crowley. Edward Alexander Aleister Crowley was born in 1875 and died in 1947. He is considered the 19th and 20th century chief archetype of divination, which includes the communication with the dead. He was a top Satanist. But you think about it, he's actually Luciferian. But they called him a Satanist, right? Stories about him are legend. His sexual and psychological exploits and experiments through divination also became legendary. He made his home near the shores of Loch Ness, Scotland. Oh, the home was actually a castle known as Boleskine House. Crowley was known as the Beast 666. He was depraved and served as a mentor to many that is now tarot owes to him the deep involvement many have with it now in the 21st century. He spent much of his life studying, defining, and enhancing the modern practices of ancient tarot. Okay? So Satan is about dark and Luciferian is light, but they're interchangeable. So you can hear people say, well, he's a Satanist. Oh, he's a Luciferian, but you can say he can say Satan. See, here's the thing. He's a person. So would they call him a Luciferian, or would you call the Freemasons Luciferian? And he's like Satan. I mean, that's the wordplay and how what people do to make things mean something. But when you think about Satan, so if Satan had to be a person, that's who they would apply it to. But if they were to say he's Luciferian, then who would be the Satan, right? What would the society be put? So you couldn't say anyone was Satan that's alive. So then if they called Aleister Crowley a Satanist, and then you call Anton LaVey a Satanist, then who's Luciferian? Then you make Luciferianism okay, which is actually has the same kind of extremes as the Satanist. And so it's all psychological, but you can develop any story you want, so as long as it is aligned with the physics outcome. And since I discovered the potential possibility of immortality, physical immortality, not, the spiritual immortality, but physical immortality, I literally had to walk away from society in order to save myself. And then everything else, then you're seeing synchronicity. You're seeing now finally alignment, which means I had to walk away from everything. From the Satanists and from the Luciferians. From all the activists are all about light, right? All the love and light people. I mean, so anyways, all right. And so, Aleister Crowley belonged to the ancient pagan society known as the Order of the Golden Dawn. And here's the higher title of Magus. The title is earned through ascension technique. Then you hear all the ascension people. And that's not only in Christianity, but also in those in the spiritual people. They're like, oh, I'm all about ascension, new earth, ascension, oh, love, 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 and black sun and white sun. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Which when one arrives at them through various pagan rituals, he has achieved the highest order the occult brotherhood has to offer. So then you have the Hebrews saying that Mother's Day is pagan, but then they're like, well, Mother's Day is every day. So then what you're saying is you're practicing pagan shit every day versus one day. You see how the system fucks with people? You see how even the religious people don't even know what they're actually practicing because they think practicing something one day and practicing every day is different. No, you practice it one day, okay. You practice it every single day, it's the same fucking thing. Okay? And so Crowley died in 1947, and he had his followers burn his body to ashes as they read a poem he composed, Hymn to Pan. Pan is a mythical musical god of sex of the fields in Greek mythology. He was part human and part beast. His legs were those of a goat, his feet were cloven hoofs, yet his upper body was that of a man. Yeah, I've seen those statues in my house before. Aleister Crowley was a master occultist. In his castle, deep below the earth's surface, were secret chambers where satanic sacrifices were held. His ashes are also buried there now. A secret passageway from the castle to subterranean compartments led to the horror chambers and burial plot. Oh, God. Sounds pretty grim. The occult lesson of reversal. One of Crowley's chief instances was that his followers learned and put into practice the occult law of reversal. In many various and sundry classes he instructed in his home in the occult, he invariably instructed his multitude of excited students in the major law of Satan. Those who want fame, power, spell-casting abilities, demons at their beck and call, and to recognize the Godhead within, as well as know the past, present, and future, he extolled to his apt students must consistently with intensity practice talking, reverse speech, walking, thinking, and play and phonograph records backwards. This is a form of divination, and we are warned against this in the Holy Bible. Oh God. So you're seeing me reversing what the system is doing in the medical field and pharmaceuticals. Okay? That Aleister Crowley took so much interest in, Park Davis, the Pfizer stuff, when he's doing his own little drug stuff. And then Park Davis, which is basically Pfizer, is like, oh, we'll go and figure out a FDA approved type of drug. You see how then you can't even try to undo the curses, because then that is also looked at as satanic. So it depends upon what you're reversing. If you're reversing death, they're going to call that satanic, then life. But then what does that mean? Is that suffering? I mean, that the system traps you. And that's when you have to realize you have to walk away from all of that and play your own game of balance, whatever the hell that means. And I don't play the Holy Bible, okay? I don't play that. So the two most important laws of Satanism. Oh, here we go. The first law, the law of reversal, is the crux of Satanism. Consider the following. Jeez. Okay. Oh my, you see, oh my God. The Black Mass, the entire Roman Catholic liturgy of the Mass is performed backwards or in reverse. Everything is read backwards or in reverse speech. The cross as the Black Mass is hung upside down, reverse over the satanic altar. Oh my God. The Antichrist, this signals a reverse or direct opposite of Christ. Heaven, the reverse of hell. Heaven is up, hell is down. God is light, the devil is dark. See, but that's still luciferianism. So that's the thing, is no matter what, no matter which way you go, you reverse it from one extreme to the other. And this is where you have to understand what they're doing. Okay? Even though I might reverse the death process with my information, it's not like I'm going straight to the light and die in the light. No. It's bringing the light and the dark into gray and using my brain versus worshiping the darkness and the light. But then you're seeing what they're doing. They're saying God is light, but then luciferianism. And then you see all the ascension people, the energy healing people. And that's where I walked away from the empaths and the love, and all the people that are in those worlds that I have no patience for. But they definitely have tried to bring me into those situations. And I'm like, no, God, not going there. So when they're saying God is light, devil is dark, you're stuck. And then that's the religious world. And so you have the religious world, they're like against the VACCINESs, but they're going to get operations. They're going to doctors left and right. But they're against the V's. That's the craziness. That's the equilibrium. That's practicing light and dark with the same intention of outcome as death and destruction and projection. The second law of self-awareness. Oh, this is where I was like, oh, okay, here we go. This sounds modern, but in effect comes from ancient Babylon. The teachings basically are all is one. Man is divine being within, life purpose to realize the divine within. Oh God. Other terms used to describe this are nirvana, the atonement, or at one moment. God consciousness, the satori and the samadhi. The state of Gnostic or self-realization of who you are can be finally attained through yoga and meditation or the like, only be turning within. Then you realize that all life is about you, Maya, or self-illusion. When this achieved, you are now recognized you are God. Okay, so yeah. I mean, I know my power, and I know where I don't have power. I know where I have power. I have power over myself. Okay, I've God over myself. Am I God over anyone else? Am I a guru? Am I taking away your pain and suffering? Am I trying to collect a following? Am I trying to save you from yourself? No, I'm just giving you information. Though it might come off like that, but no, I'm just giving you information. But, and we are connected. And so you see how they have found things that people would turn to and made it extreme. And so they don't, if you think that being self-aware is satanic, then you're like, okay, I won't be self-aware. I'll just go and worship some god or some darkness or whatever and just give myself away to somebody and all that. And so there's a psychology with this that I recognize, and that's why I'm like, oh, hold on a second here. I see what's going on here. So Anton Szandor LaVey, now they're bringing in this. Oh, God. The Godhead within, Anton Szandor LaVey, founder of the First Church of Satan in San Francisco, California, and the author of Satanic Bible Incorporate, many of Aleister Crowley's formulas for divination and more. His pupils report that when you recognize your individual potential through recognizing self-awareness by turning within, then you have achieved Godhead. Then you are a creator. And this is where I can see then why people think I'm satanic and a monster if they're religious. So either you have to, oh God, LaVey students say that this is a core of Satanism. And what does the Bible say? So now you're hearing from the perspective of some Bible person who's like, well, give your life to me. So now you're seeing the three. Now there's three ways to basically give yourself away and die. There is the satanic, the luciferian, and the religious, which is all the same shit. And could you hear someone that's religious saying that they would say that they are satanic or luciferian? No, because they think of themselves as different. That's how the system traps you, is make you think that everything is separate, that you have a choice, when no, when you are given choices by the system, they're giving you the same thing dressed up differently. Just like I said, the holistic remedies are no different than the allopathic remedies. It's just a different marketing. It's a different allegory, but it's the same players, the same, what is it? The archetypes. You have the enemy, you have the hero, you have the heroine, you have all this stuff. So what does the Bible say about the reverse speech, talking backwards in order to divine divination in the future? Clearly God said to avoid those things in Deuteronomy. And see, this is where then you're bringing in the Bible to then justify that the outcome is still going to be the same. Death and destruction, worshiping a person, place, or thing, or worshiping yourself and die anyways. And so that's like mixing chemistry and saying that you have 1 part, mercury, 2 parts fluoride, 1 part salt, and that's, luciferianism. And then you have something opposite of that or different, but still has the same ingredients, and call that Satanism. Then maybe you add another component to those 3 components and call that, the Holy Bible. But they all have the same intention, even though it's slightly different, maybe different measurements but they're still the same intention. And so that's like holistic remedies. That's like all the different cures. That's like all the different, foods that build on each other. Okay. Even though it's kind of the same thing, it's a little bit different, but they call it, so they market it different. But that's the same thing with religion. They take certain components. That's Rosicrucian. Certain components based upon the intention, mix it in different things, compartmentalize and package it up and sell it to the masses. People practice it, but the outcome is still death and destruction and projecting blame and never taking personal accountability and looking for absolution. And so this whole fucking site right here that I'm reading, the occult of law reversal, is all about absolution, never ever taking personal accountability. But they found ways to mix things together to make you think whatever, and then there you go. What's the outcome still is death. Whether it's Luciferian, whether it's Satanism, or whether it's the Holy Bible, the outcome is still death. People choose to die. And so that's what I wanted to prove to you. That's what I wanted to prove to you. And so I said, preachers preach for or against Satanism and do self-harm to feel good and heal, harming to heal to feel good and bad by controlling one's hormones through proxies might be construed as satanic. But why do people disable their immune system and call it healing? Inversion might be construed as satanic. To make yourself a godhead might be construed as satanic, but then there might be different degrees of self-awareness to develop self as a creator of themselves or destroy oneself. Do we even put the word satanic, or do we recognize to what degree we embrace the concepts we exemplify? We go too far in each end, the concepts lose balance. Maybe Satanism means the balance of dark, means out of balance, dark, and Luciferian lack of balance is light. And that's when I went and evolved my thought process and realized what the Freemason symbols were as far as black and white checkerboard. You're balancing death with death. That's a black and white checkerboard. Okay? By saying, okay, I'm going to go to the light and then go to the dark, go to the light, go to the dark, go to the light, go to the dark. But really, the gray matter is the brain. The people turn off their brain. They turn off hormones. They turn off developing new neural pathways, and they actually deplete their neural pathways, and they become dumber and dumber and dumber as they get older and older and older. And even though we have luminaries that are maybe elderly, like I guess Aleister Crowley, who's 72, still had his faculties, but his body gave out. So even though maybe his brain was working great, even like Einstein, the body gave out. He didn't know how to balance out the brain and the body. Okay, so that's kind of like, Freemason is the darkness of the body, the light in the brain, the light in the body, the darkness in the brain. People pick and choose, and they don't understand how to bring both of them together to develop gray matter. And there you go. Yeah. I'm going to read this. Oh, geez. Oh, my God. Okay. All right. So preachers preach for against Satanism and do self-harm to feel good and heal. Harming to heal, feel good, and bad by controlling one's hormones through proxies might be considered as satanic. Why do people disable their immune system and call it healing? And so the cover of California Infernal, Anton LaVey and Jane Mansfield, as portrayed by Walter Fisher, the Bible-thumping condemnation of pre-code Hollywood declare its racy films to be wicked enticement cast before innocent eyes. The overheated rhetoric was of a piece with the films themselves. Sin, as a showstopper, has always proved to be profitable for preachers as well as movie makers. A preacher of a different sort, Anton LaVey, took cues from both moguls and the ministers to found the Church of Satan and authored the Satanic Bible. From Hollywood, he borrowed the splashy opening of the instance by ordaining the beginning of the age of Satan on Walpurgis in 1966. With his shaved head and villainous goatee, LaVey himself could have passed for Vincent Price from the godly. From the godly, he appropriated the notion of numerical commandment, his Bible catalogs 9 satanic statements, the first being Satan represents indulgence instead of abstinence, and sense of ritual. But with an audience-pleasing twist, his black masses featured nearly naked women lying supine on the altar. So it's either, you're naked or you're like overindulgence or abstaining. And that's the thing. That's the black and white checkerboard. So then you have the religious fanatics that are like, okay, no sex, but only sex with your husband, but then he can take advantage of you and harm you and do whatever. And so there's that. But then, that's the thing. It's how do you balance out the extremes and still stay alive? That's the bottom line in the J world, is how do you balance out both the light and the dark that's out there, develop gray, and still stay alive? Well, that's all individual. I can't be the one to legislate what you should do. Okay? And so I'm going to leave it at that right there. But humans were never meant to own a person, place, or thing or animal. The fact we did and do was to justify our own slavery into a system of innovation and then blame the government. And now the system does not need the slaves anymore. So the system will increase the need to cut out the suffering in your body, mind, spirit, family, friends, in politics, religion, science. Cutters. When you set your dependents free in the most legal way and you only have you and an equal partner to take care of, you have just freed yourself from slavery. Now, how will you survive your freedom? Because sometimes one freedom turns into another slavery if you do not find a way to survive your freedom indefinitely. So yeah, maybe your kids leave the nest and you're on your own, but then you have health issues and you don't want to feel the pain and suffering. And so then you employ a proxy called a surgeon or the government to bring in people to help you do whatever, or you go and sign on the dotted line and you go and get all your medications. And so then you may have freed yourself from your dependence, but now you're dependent on the government and the medical holistic. And then if you're like, oh, I don't like the medical, so I'm going to go find a holistic person, you just entered yourself into a slavery once again by depending upon all the remedies and the group think and all the drum circles and the ayahuasca and all that shit that people, do. And so Aleister Crowley admired Pfizer, Park Davis. Where do you think all of your supplements, herbs, and feel-good elixirs come from? Mommy and Me groups replicate the labs in their kitchen, developing herbal drugs using probiotics, fruit, and heavy metals. Oh, certainly the reader will mourn the passing of the helpful American pharmacist, which Crowley described during his trip across the U.S. in 1919. My first stop was Detroit, where Park Davis were charming and showed me over their wonderful chemical works. They had installed countless and ingenious devices for conducting the processes involved in manufacturing by machinery. All right? And so, who is Park Davis? I read that yesterday, that part of it. But who's Park Davis? I read the part of Aleister Crowley going over to Park Davis. Was a company found... So, Park Davis is a subsidiary of the pharmaceutical company Pfizer. Although Park Davis and Company is no longer an independent corporation, It was once America's oldest and largest drug maker and played an important role in medical history. In 1970, Parke Davis was acquired by Warner Lambert, which in turn was acquired by Pfizer in 2000. Okay? So all of you that are against the V's, all right, against all the Pfizer and all the therapies, and you're taking your supplements and making your own little herbal concoctions, the lab in your kitchen, well, you might as well be Anton LaVey or Aleister Crowley. You're practicing divination. You're practicing all that alchemy. And so, if this is your purview, okay, hold on. If this is your purview, you're worshiping Aleister Crowley. What are you talking about, Jillian? I don't want to hear any religious person call anyone satanic when you are getting cut into to heal with drugs. He said, suppose I take all these pains to stop drugs and they get cancer or something right away. What a fool I shall feel. I said, people take drugs to take away the pain, thus causing their own cancer or died suddenly. But Crowley flipped nature and said taking drugs takes away cancer and the pain. No, not so much. Ask a hospice patient how much pain they're in after years and years of painkillers. The health and wellness industry is based on Crowley. And so sobriety and eating all foods is the new fountain of youth. You don't need drugs anymore for artistic inspiration. Just breathe in a crowded room and stop treating disease and pull out all the excessive demons and you'll get genius relative to what you focus your mind onto. The people are the drugs. People use muses, artists find muses. What is a muse? A beautiful person who might say something or do something and they keep them around to give them the artistic expression. Men will get involved with women who are not good for them so they can develop, some kind of artistic expression. That's what the artists, like R. Kelly and P. Diddy and a lot of the questionable people like Epstein, they developed systems of leveraging people and systems of artistic ability through hormone manipulation, using people. People are the drugs. People did so many drugs ever since the 1800s, they become what others get high off of or get healed with or pleasure from. And so the sober people will become the geniuses and potentially physically immortal while other people will drug themselves and their children out of existence. Sobriety is the new genius drug if you can handle the pain and the suffering and the food. Watch my last video like yesterday. Poles have flipped. Okay? And so the Hermetic Order the Rosicrucians. I knew the Rosicrucian Museum in California, over there in San Jose, California. We went there when we were kids over there at Blue Hills at that school that I, went to grade school. And so Aleister Crowley's order, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, Latin, Ordo Hermeticus, Aurora. So Rosicrucian is the Christian Gnostics, Gnosticism, the Jewish mystics, the Hermetics. That's the Greek and the Egyptian alchemy. Romans, right? More commonly known as the Golden Dawn, Aurora, was a secret society devoted to the study and practice of the occult Hermeticism, medicine, and metaphysics during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Known as Magical Order, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was active in the Great Britain and focused its practices on theurgy and the spiritual development. Many present-day concepts of ritual and magic that are in the center of contemporary traditions such as Wicca and Thelema were inspired by the Golden Dawn, which became one of the largest single influences on the 20th century Western occultism. Okay? The three founders, William Robert Woodman, William Wynne Westcott, and Samuel Liddell Mathers, were Freemasons and members of the Societas Rosicruciana in Anglia. Westcott appears to have been the initial driving force behind establishment of the Golden Dawn. I don't know what you mean by Ohio, the Greystone State. I don't understand that. You have to be more specific and more than specific. Be a little bit more descriptory, okay? These are cryptic remarks, Robert. Please be more specific. The Golden Dawn system was based on hierarchy and initiation similar to Masonic lodges, and the grade structure was based on the SRIA. However, women were admitted to an equal basis with men. All right? The Golden Dawn was the first of 3 orders. Although all 3 are often collectively referred to as the Golden Dawn, the first order taught esoteric philosophy based on the Hermetic, Kabbalah, and personal development through study awareness of the 4 classical elements, as well as the basics of astrology, divination, and geomancy. All right. The second of inner order, the Rose Roubaix et Aracrucis, taught magic, including scrying, astral travel, and alchemy. The third order was that of the secret chiefs, who were said to be highly skilled. They supposedly directed the activities of the lower 2 orders by spirit communication with the chiefs of the second order. All right. So, yeah. So if you are practicing alchemy through all the supplements, taking people's pain and suffering, and you're going to astral projection, doing all that stuff, or going off and doing whatever, playing with tarot stuff, and oh gosh, it's all what are you resisting? You already bought into everything. What are you resisting? All right? What are you resisting? I'm just going to delete that comment because I don't understand what that means, and I'm not going to try to understand. If you guys are going to say something, you need to be a bit more explanatory to what you're saying. I don't like cryptic stuff. I'm not trying to solve a riddle here. Don't make me think so hard. I'm already thinking. Okay. Self-harm to heal, to feel good, and staying addicted to pleasure and paradise and rescuing everything. Harm to heal and save or rescue from oneself. Taking on a human, dog, kid to a surgeon to be harmed and then heal with antibiotics. The religion of harm, heal, pleasure, paradise, genius, and then death. The old world has fallen away, but you watch others become their own Satan and Savior and find followers to be their own Satan and Savior until it becomes one big orgy of pleasure and pain and feeling to live. And then die. That's what's going on right now. And so, yeah, self-harm to heal, to be the rescuer of animals and humans and children. The Messiah complex is the new religion. I read that yesterday. All right, and climate change is a knowledge of self-harming to heal, to feel good. Okay. In this highly amplified environment, G6, you cannot afford to be on your diets eating meat for you. I read that already. And so someone says, this is IFL science. Someone says, I don't like science. Someone says, okay, I'm going to block you. That's kind of like I'm right there right now. Okay, I don't care what you preach on your own page because it's your world, your house, your safe space. It's when you cross over and try to bring in your whatever. All right. All right. If they tell you you can see the northern lights at night all over the world, then you know the day is going to be aggressive. Ultraviolet light is everywhere, and even at night. Okay? Don't let the color purple pull you into thinking everything is safe because it's ultraviolet. Ultraviolet radiation is not very safe at all. I blacked out the windows on my floor knowing this. I knew the solar eclipse was the harbinger of doom. And I knew nothing good came out of it. I knew ultraviolet lights were going to be even more so, and people were staring at the sun. So I stayed inside and blocked out my windows. I had the science, but I didn't have it so obvious because I needed something else to give you as an example. All right? And so seeing the northern lights is believing once you understand there's a lot of deadliness under so much beauty, which is why Hollywood is what it is, okay? You have the beautiful people seducing you into destruction. Could you be well balanced and beautiful without destroying people? Well, that's the new world. And so right now, all of you sun worshippers and sun gazers are going to be frying your brains out. And then all the storm chasers will be exposed to high amounts of energy, and just like the Northern Lights chasers trying to get the best photo. Those photons are coming at you, causing accelerated entropy. Remember the red shift, blue shift, purple shift is chaos. Okay, so ultraviolet light is seducing. And the whole green uranium, well, that's all programming with the whole symptoms. And so IFL Science said, don't be caught out there. That was back in the eclipse days. The ultraviolet light during the day and at night are aggressive, and they tell you these solar storms, radiation, are going to be even more so. That's always been the pandemic. Maybe that was the Ark of the Covenant. Covenant's ability was to produce ultraviolet radiation, and it was beautiful, and it made people see things, probably even produced fire. You don't even know what happened 6,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. The high energy, along with studying, made people extremely smart. Maybe even one person very smart. Imhotep, 2700 BC. He was the vice chancellor or the chancellor to Dozier, the pharaoh at the time. And he died before he was 20, or died at 20, or not too long after 20. Moses, 1391 to 1592 BC approximately. So he was another chosen one. Jesus, another chosen one, 4 or 6 BC. Muhammad, another chosen one, 570 CE. Gates, 1975, a year after I was born. Gates, 1975 AD. You could say they were chosen ones to develop so much knowledge and lead people into the next evolution. Because remember, he did Microsoft, computer stuff. Now the system could do both with so many people, turn so many people into little prophets, and geniuses. That's why smart people are a dime a dozen. But what makes you exceptional? And to be liked does not make you exceptional. Popularity is deadly. Now, it is not difficult following the crowd and not risking anything and being very good at whatever you were trained to do. What's difficult is going against the crowd and developing your own path without joining a gang and becoming a cutter. And so the G5, UV rays, all that purple you see during the Northern Lights, don't think you should be celebrating how beautiful it is. I mean, I guess it is, but there's also an ugliness around what's going on. And so, anyways, so purple has shorter wavelengths, and that's high frequency. Microwaves, I'm not going to read that. Boxer dies at 29, The irony is a lot of the truth people are Christians who are revealing how controlled everything is, to the point where they even reveal how even their own religion controls them. Calling everything in the past and present into question. Inevitably calling religion into question. Every religion. When you expose the truth about all the different gadgets the system can control the universe with, and even our thoughts, and even what we see and think and hear, everything we see and hear, even study when it comes to religion, stories will be called into question. I mean, everything. But all the different religions can't afford to be silent. They have to speak out. They have to fight against the Antichrist. But with that fight, they expose the whole system for what it is. That's fucking brilliant. We chose to believe whatever we believed, and we chose to disbelieve what we were told to believe by exposing the system. I must hand it to them again. The system used everyone to expose how contrived everything is, how controlled you are. People will still sit on the fence of organic versus synthetic. Eventually they'll realize everything is organic or everything is synthetic. You can't have you can play the religion if one is better than the other, but that's religion. Or else it becomes to religion when you choose a side. And then you get another stupid war of who thinks they are more correct than somebody else. Then you get those that force convert people, then those who hunt people who think differently. In our current society today, you're not supposed to say anything against the mainstream or the homogenized thought process. And one day the system will prove you everything through science, so you're not stuck in a stupid belief to the point of killing for your beliefs or dying for your belief system. Because beliefs are fucking deadly. You must be able to prove how to live and stay alive and prove what causes death. Belief is what causes wars. Belief is what decimates family genetic lines. Yeah, we're entering into the one world religion. I know people don't want to die. I also know it's too late for a lot of people, but it's not too late for others. It's brutal surviving something such as this, but the old world was about dying and killing for your beliefs. The old world was about torturing people through proxies. The old world is brutal. I don't know what capacity you have to change, but at this point, there really is nothing to lose. You haven't lost yourself yet, and you can't save anyone else. So there's nothing to lose. Strategize your survival. Right, and the whole thing with that face that Audrey posted that I shared, Fatima in Portugal, I've been there. Yeah, you never know. You just don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And so we'll just leave it at that. All right, and then yeah. I'm just gonna, yeah, I think that's it. Solar radiation. Well, now you get it. Now you get it. All right, I'm done. I don't know how done, but it's anything else. But I mean, now you know. The black and white checkerboard, luciferianism, Satanism, both two sides of the same coin. But how did I prove that? I told you how I proved. Everything out there, the choices you're given are two sides of the same coin. The only way you're going to fucking survive this is if you actually change your lifestyle and your belief systems. And deal with pain and suffering and all food. And I can't be the one to tell you how much pain you should feel. But there was always the illusion of choice. Even those in the activist world, even those in the religious world, even those in the medical holistic, illusion of choice. Those are the anti-V, pro-V, illusion of choice. You have to develop your own story if you want to survive. Good luck in doing that. Bye.